Bitcoin is getting rejected at a key level. Solana continues to nuke, and all on-chain metrics are showing that we should see some continued downtrend, and gold continues to soar. Today's video will be a little bit more of a realistic approach as to how you should be looking at crypto. And warning, if you're waiting for some hopium, this is not the video for you, so I would suggest that you already click off this video. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's jump right into the video because we have a lot to share. First of all, the Bitcoin chart. We can see it's very much the same thing. We got rejected once again at the 200-day moving average, and we are still below this key level, which is only the first level that I think is necessary for me to be bullish again. So you really want to watch this level. We need a reclaim if we are to see more bullish momentum. Now, if we go on the shorter time frames here, say the 1 hour chart, a lot of people would be speculating that we're seeing a little bit of sell-off ahead of the FOMC meeting, which is tomorrow. And while that may be true, things are simply not looking good, and I have to share some other charts with you. First of all, we have the S&P 500. Now, we did get a decent pump from this low, and only time will tell if we're able to actually reclaim the 200-day moving average for the S&P 500. Also, this pump did coincide with a Bitcoin pump. As we can see from the low, we ended up pumping about 3.5% on the S&P 500, but if we take a look at the Bitcoin chart from the low, we ended up pumping. Naturally, it should be a little bit more, as we can see here, down to the high, around 11.3%. Now, are we about to move higher, or is there some more downside to come? Despite the bearish sentiment, I still think that a lot of people are sharing too much hopium on Twitter specifically, and I need to share some charts with you. Michael Saylor continues to accumulate less and less Bitcoin. Here is the Saylor tracker, where we can see he currently owns around $41 billion worth of Bitcoin, or I shouldn't say he owns, but his company Strategy. And on this chart, we can see all the dots where he was accumulating Bitcoin and buying. You can see that he bought a ton of Bitcoin at the top between $100,000 and $109,000. And only recently down here, we can see that he placed a purchase of $10.7 million worth of Bitcoin. And this is one of the only ones that is still in profit starting from this year. As we can see, all of his other purchases now are in the negative. Naturally, he also has some way better levels, which were around the 60K mark back in 2024. But since then, a lot of his buys are in an unrealized loss. Now, he very much is playing the long-term game, but as we discussed, it seems foolish to me that he would only buy around $10.7 million worth of Bitcoin at around an $83,000 valuation. Meanwhile, since the end of 2024, he was top blasting with literally billions of dollars. I think his cash is potentially drying up. We also had the whale finally close his Bitcoin short positions, and unfortunately, we were simply not able to liquidate him. He made around $9 million in profit. The most annoying part about this is that a whole bunch of players got together and tried to liquidate this guy, but we just weren't able to. He cashed in those profits, and now for whatever reason, this same wallet is continuing to long Melania coin. As we talked about, I think that perhaps he's trying to imply that he's part of the Trump team, but no one really knows. But you can see that on my X account, I gave you the full coverage. By the way, if you're not following me there, go ahead and do that because I give you real-time updates before these videos go out. Something else that I wanted to discuss in this video, which is again quite negative, is Solana. Look, we have Crypto Rover coming out here and saying that Binance is staking Solana. The sole pump is incoming. Guys, I don't think this is true. Unfortunately, if we look at the data a little bit further, what we can see here is that Pump Fund deposited 196,000 Solana to Kraken about a few hours ago. Now, I posted this earlier in the day. It's probably been about 5 hours since this transaction happened. This is worth around $25 million. You might be thinking, this isn't that significant. But so far, Pump Fund has deposited around 2.6 million Solana to Kraken, which is around $500 million worth of Solana at around $194, and they sold so far around 260,000 SOL for around $40 million in profit. To date, Pump Fund has earned nearly 3.2 million Solana. You need to pay attention to this because if they continue to dump their Solana, it will not be good for the price action. Now, Solana kept on nuking, and if you remember correctly, a few weeks ago, we discussed the possibility of Solana going way lower, and we did indeed enter a short right around this level at $190 right up here. And you can see that we did have a couple of fake pumps to the upside, but ultimately we resulted lower. Now we are at a major support level for Solana, so you need to be careful here, because if this level breaks, I wouldn't be surprised to see Solana trading under $100 once again. And why, you might ask? It's not just about the levels, it's not just about pump funds selling, but it's also about the data. If we take a look at this data, it shows Solana's total revenue. And what do you see on this chart? It continues to decrease. Since we had that meme coin fiasco, the revenue for Solana kept on increasing, and now we are getting closer to all-time lows. It's pretty pathetic to see that Solana is now below $500,000 in 24-hour revenue, considering that they were literally over $55 million around the inauguration day. Now, this isn't just for Solana. A lot of altcoins are seeing more and more outflows out of their ecosystem, and this is not a crypto thing, but rather an impact by the broader markets. What we can see here also regarding Solana is that we had the Solana CME futures launch. Everyone got excited once again. And on the first day, we only saw around $12 million in volume. That is absolutely nothing. And unfortunately, it's quite pathetic to say the least. Now, taking a look at the USDT dominance, I wanted to show this chart because as we've seen time and time again, when we hit this trend line, which has been established since October 2017, we see some kind of correction in the price action of Bitcoin. We saw it last year around the March 2024 74K top. Then we saw it this year around inauguration, which was the $109,000 top. Now, we ended up breaking this trend line, but then we held this horizontal trend line as support, which was not positive for the price action of Bitcoin. Now, what we can see now is that we encountered a little bit of resistance going into an uptrend, but if we are to break this level and hold this level as support and move higher, it would simply not be positive for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. You have to take this in. So despite record shorts in the market, I have still continued to short Bitcoin. I am expecting some kind of squeeze to form a lower high, but ultimately it's just not looking good for Bitcoin and for the rest of the crypto market. If you want to trade this price action, potentially you think I'm wrong and you'd like to long Bitcoin, or you'd like to short Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, make sure to click the first link in my description down below. It brings you directly to weeks where you can earn a 50% deposit bonus. That means that if you deposit up to $2,000, you'll get $1,000 back for trading purposes. So if you're already trading the market and you want a solid exchange to trade on, make sure you sign up with the first link in my description down below. All you need is an email and a password. Make that deposit, get that bonus. So you'll notice that I've been pretty negative in this video thus far, and unfortunately it will continue. I warned you that there isn't much hopium in this video. Yes, Bitcoin could potentially bounce, and we should be expecting some volatility ahead of the FOMC meeting, which is tomorrow, but ultimately it's just not looking good. And it's not necessarily a crypto thing. It's a broader market thing that you need to take into consideration. And what do I mean by this? Well, first of all, Japan's 30-year government bond yield rises to 2.62%, which is the highest since July 2006. And how can this impact the market? I went ahead and asked Grok to explain it to us. The rise in Japan's 30-year bond yield is more likely bearish in the short term due to higher borrowing costs, potential economic uncertainty, and capital shifting to bonds. Long term, the effects depend on whether this signals growth or instability. Now, obviously, if stocks do not react well to this, crypto has that multiplier effect where it will likely react even worse. But when crypto goes up, crypto tends to go up even more. This is the game that we play. As we can see, similarly, the outlook is more bearish in the short term as rising yields and global financial concerns could drive investors away from risk assets like cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies are further down the risk curve than stocks. You always need to remember that. And while this is a crypto-focused channel, we simply cannot ignore this. Speaking of the broader markets, what's another reason why I'm bearish? Well, let's take a look at this. Germany's Rheinmetall is set to acquire Volkswagen's factory and convert it into an armored vehicle production facility as the country boosts its defense manufacturing. Why am I even talking about this? Guys, usually when a defense manufacturing chart looks like this, something is seriously wrong. I mean, look, if we compare it to Nvidia, it looks almost as bullish as Nvidia was. Actually, we'll put it on the weekly chart. It looks eerily similar to Nvidia's run. This is not the kind of chart that you want to see going up if we're hoping that crypto and risk assets continue to rise. Something else that you need to look into: Bitcoin versus gold. Now, we've talked about this time and time again. We have everyone on crypto Twitter saying it's only a matter of time before Bitcoin catches up to gold. And historically, while this can be the case, certainly not in these economic conditions. As we can see, gold put in a new all-time high, and as I'm recording this video, it just continues to rip higher, which to me symbolizes a lot of market uncertainty. Investors are taking their money and flocking to safe havens like gold. As much as we want Bitcoin to be seen as a safe haven, it's not quite there yet. And if we are to get a more significant correction, as we've discussed around the 73K level, I will certainly be buying a lot more Bitcoin. I would say you just need to be patient here. Yes, we can see a pump to the upside in the short term because a lot of people have been shorting this market, but ultimately I do think we will resort lower. If I go on the weekly chart here, we can see that obviously it doesn't look great. We broke below key levels on the weekly time frame, and now it's about trying to consolidate above these levels, not below, which is exactly what it's starting to look like. We're below the 200-day moving average. We're below this orange zone, which is a very important zone that we need to reclaim. And then we're also outside of the original range, which starts at around 91.8K. And if we take a look at the bull market support band, how far off are we? Well, we can see that this band ranges from 88.3K all the way up to 93.7K. We are well below that level. What I would expect in the coming weeks is at least some kind of rally. I mean, it would surprise me if we just went down in a straight line because that's not how markets usually operate. But what we can expect here is potentially another move down and then upwards, potentially tagging the bull market support band as it heads lower. And if we are to break to the upside, we would hold the bull market support band as support and then move higher, or perhaps the bull market support band will start acting as resistance and we are to move lower and make that move all the way down to $73,000. I hate being bearish, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, things are simply not looking good, and we can't just ignore that. I know everyone wants to be super bullish, and believe me, I'm the first person that wants to be bullish. But when we have so much market uncertainty, Trump's tariffs, a defense manufacturing stock just skyrocketing, gold soaring, investors flocking to gold as their safe haven, and ultimately not the best economic conditions, things simply don't look great. We cannot ignore that. And I'm trying to spread this message because although I do trade the crypto markets and we've made a lot of profit shorting the market, I still don't think it's time to catch falling knives. This video was a little bit more of a reality check. I know sometimes I try to sprinkle in a little bit of hopium, but unfortunately this video has none of that. And if you're part of the Bitcoinsensus community that I normally operate in with Andy and Devault, you'll know that these guys are doing a lot of TA, looking at the charts, looking at the potential scenarios for the short-term price action of Bitcoin. But sometimes we have to admit that fundamentals really do rule. The market can send us lower because of broader economic conditions, and I just want you to be aware of that. Trading is not an easy game, but so far, shorting the market has proved to be extremely profitable. Don't get me wrong, I will be closing a lot of my shorts very soon if we are to tag lower levels and if things are starting to look like we will be turning around. But until then, I've still been bearish. I hate to share the same message with you guys, and this one, obviously less hopium in this video, but I hope you can appreciate my honesty, and I'm not just going to be one of those influencers that tries to tell you that the market will continuously go up when things are not looking so great. Again, if you want to trade the markets, make sure to click the first link in my description. You can long and short Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies on weeks. All you need is an email and a password, and you also get a fantastic bonus for trading. That sums up today's video. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. I'll try to share some more longer term time frames for where Bitcoin could go, how high it can actually go in some of my upcoming videos. I'll see you in the next one.